We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Single Sounds. I'm your host Katie Mack, and this is the only podcast that helps you listeners find a date. And usually I interview singles, but today it is the expert episode as it's the last week of the month. And weirdly, every single guest I've had in May, their name has began with an M, which is just really odd. And this guest is no exception. We have Molly Cookson on the show. She is part of the fantastic duo behind Two Girls, One Pup, a TikTok and Instagram account where they talk about all things dating and living in London. This conversation came about early in 2024 when Molly let me know that she was going to try dating off the apps and do one activity every month. And this sounded like such a good idea, so I decided to copy. We set May as the episode where we were going to go through our first quarter of dating, if you like. So we could discuss what went well, what went not so well, and hopefully give you guys some ideas of how to date a bit different. Especially if you've got burnout from the dating apps. I know I have such cycles myself with them. Some weeks I feel like I'm flying, I'm chatting to loads of people, I'm setting up dates. Other weeks it feels like I don't want to match with anyone or no one wants to talk to me. It can be quite conflicting. It really is a roller coaster of emotions on these things. And I feel like the general trend of this year, from what I can see on my socials and chatting to friends, is that people are trying to move away from the dating apps and they are trying to meet people a bit more in real life. So I wanted to explore a lot of ways that we could do that. And yeah, hopefully this episode will inspire you to maybe try things a bit differently. Also, I will tease that I am planning a live show. It's going to be in collaboration with another singles event, which I'm very excited about. And so far it's penciled in for the end of July. So I'm hoping I'll give you some updates on that very soon. And that is a perfect way for you to dip your toe into dating different and in person. Hello, Molly. Welcome to Single Sounds.
Hello.
Happy you're here. And we're going to talk about all things dating off the apps today.
Woo.
Yeah. So we spoke about this, I think it was end of 2023. And you were saying that in 2024, you were going to do more adventures off the apps.
Yeah.
Try and date more in person, go to more things. So yeah, tell us about that 2024 resolution. For trying to date different outside of the apps.
Yeah, for sure. So I was single for quite a while. Definitely did the apps to death, I think. Particularly in London, a few years did the apps and just sort of felt like I'd got to the end of last year, had got into quite a bit of a rut with them where I was going on dates and sort of coming away from them, not really feeling very energized and just feeling quite drained by the whole process.
Yeah.
And I think when you've been single for a little while and actively dating, particularly on the apps, the fun just gets completely sucked out of the process. When you first come to dating, or maybe you've just broken up with someone, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
And you're all these people that I can meet and I can go explore these restaurants I've never been to in these bars. And
it feels like there's a lot of potential.
Yeah. And it's just a little bit of an adventure. And there's definitely a novelty. Whereas I think when you've been doing it for a little while, that novelty definitely wears off.
Yeah. And you feel like you've already gone through everyone.
Yeah. Heaven forbid you start seeing the same people on the apps and you're like, oh good, I'm so glad we're both still here.
That's the thing, you're judging them for still being here, and then you're like, wait, I'm still here.
I am also still here. Yeah. So I think I got to the end of last year and I was just like, this can't be the only way to approach this. How else can we inject a little bit of just point of difference and fun and excitement back into the process? So I think that's sort of what led me to the resolution of just trying new things. And I guess I didn't necessarily have a hardcore game plan for what that looked like, but I guess mainly just saying yes to things and when situations arose where there could be potential for seeing it in a dating light, seeing what could happen. So yeah, that was sort of the reason behind it.
I'm on the apps at the moment and I just feel like you get to the point where your roster is completely dry and then you're can I even comprehend starting up conversation with these people the initial chat of like, what do you do for work? I hate telling people over and over again my life story. Like, it gets so draining.
100%. And this is something that I found as well. I was like, I only have like maybe 5, maybe 10 interesting stories about myself. Like, no one has that many interesting stories about themselves. And you just repeat the same things over and over again.
You feel like you're kind of like a TV show of yourself.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day, especially like if you don't change your profiles very often, which I can never be bothered to do, and you've got the same prompts on there.
And you've also thought about those prompts for quite a while.
Yeah, obviously.
You know, like
because you only have 5 stories.
Yeah,
you're trying to position them in a way that makes people ask questions about them. But then someone's like, oh, so tell me about the time that, you know, you broke your arm, and you're like, oh, this again.
Yeah.
But they don't know the story because they're new. So yeah, I feel you.
So you have to be engaging and like, I don't know. I feel like when you're in person with someone, you can kind of get over that like who I am stage like much easier.
Yeah.
Like the people that I've met out or in person, even if they're a complete stranger and I've met them on a night out, they know some history of like, maybe I'm with friends and then they know who those friends are.
Yeah.
Or like they know why I'm at that bar that particular evening because they know I live close. And do you know what I mean? They just can fill in a bit more information.
Yeah,
so it feels less like, okay, where do I start on my whole existence?
Yeah. And I feel like there's something in the psychology as well behind, like, if you're out with friends and you meet someone at a bar, you're already having a nice night, right? Like, maybe you've gotten dressed up, you're out with your girlfriends, whatever. Like, it's an addition to an already fun experience, where I feel like a lot of the time when you're swiping on a dating app, let's face it, it's probably a Sunday night.
Yeah,
you've got
you're bored
anxiety
at
about
home.
going back to work. You've got Married at First Sight on in the background. You're not really paying attention. You feel a little bit crap about yourself. You maybe got some pseudocreme on your face. You're in your pajamas. Like, that's not a fun environment in the way that, I don't know, being out for drinks with a friend or like at an event or, you know, a speed date or whatever. They're very different environments. I think you just approach it with a slightly better energy maybe than necessarily on the
because you're
apps.
a bit more positive in your headspace.
You're already in a good, fun place.
Yeah.
Although then I feel like there are ways to like inject a bit of fun into the app. So me and my housemates, we have this thing where we say put it on the TV and we all stream our phone
I've seen that.
to the TV.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we'll like pour a little glass of wine
That's fun.
and just project Hinge onto the TV and like make that like a fun evening of like, oh, he likes running, you like running. Like, oh, he said about the F1, like you're an F1 girl. Like, there are ways to make it more fun, but I think in the main it is normally quite a isolated experience.
I think that's the thing, because you can have that fun evening, but then you're kind of left with the
back.
matches. Like, if you get any, let's be real. Like, so many of the ones I send out just get like lost in the ether. I feel like you obviously you don't remember even sending them, so it's not like it doesn't feel like a rejection, but you still remember like, oh, I've sent a few out and like one came back. Do you know what
or like
I mean?
every day it's like you run out of your likes and you're like, okay, surely from this we'll get like 1 or 2, and then like a week goes past and you're like,
none.
Okay, wonderful. That's great.
I think that's the other thing about being on them for a long time. When I first downloaded them, my likes were honestly like 50 a day, because obviously the app was pushing you as like a new user, especially to those people that have been on it for a long time.
Yeah.
And now I've been on it for 5 months. It's dwindling to like a few a day.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you start not even checking it because you're like, what's the point?
And I think that's the issue with like algorithm-based apps as well, is like, unless you are on there constantly like sending out your likes, like I don't know what it is in the magic of the algorithm, but it then doesn't prioritize you as a person to other people.
They want you to be on it constantly. Yeah.
And I think this is where then like the gamification of dating apps can be a bit of a challenge, because like they say that they're there to be deleted, not naming any names to a particular app, but they're not. Like it's a money-making process. Like they want you to be continuing to consume the app. So like,
and they look at their daily return rate of users. Yeah. Like they don't look at their weekly, they look at their dailies. And they're like, how can we get our daily user like amount up?
So you do need to be on it a lot to actually get the benefit back out of it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like a full-time job.
It is.
It's like a lot of admin.
And I've like had to limit myself. I only go on it twice a day.
Okay, that's good.
That's like my way of tackling. I'm still on it. So hopefully it's not like the algorithm's just like ignoring me, but I'm not dedicating like, you know, all day to it, checking it, seeing if someone's replied.
No. But then I find, so I've also done that in the past, and I often find that the only time I have to do that is before bed. And I'm like, this is
and
not,
it's not really the mind.
I don't want to. I want to be reading
a
a book. I want to be playing my little Nintendo Switch. I don't want to be trawling through, because I feel like that. Then you go to bed with the poor self-esteem. You're like, wonderful. I've got no matches today.
Yeah, you go on no one's message.
Yeah, you're like, great.
Well. I guess it is a Friday.
Yeah.
You start making up excuses as if you're already like kind of dating these people. You're like, well, it's like a Saturday, Friday. Like no one's on the
It's
apps
not a
on
prime.
those days.
Yeah, but then on a Sunday, I'd always be like, right, today is a prime hinge day.
And
Someone
Mondays
else is
and
hungover.
Tuesdays, I'm like,
yeah.
if they're not messaging me on those days, they're just not interested.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It can be a challenge.
It is a challenge. So let's go through what you did try and how you found them.
So I tried a few things, one of which, the most fun, I would say, coming on your podcast.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
No, genuinely, that was super fun. So that was, I think you're in quite a unique position in that, like, there aren't actually an awful lot of alternatives to dating apps outside of events, you know, like a Thursday or a speed dating or whatever. Whereas I feel like what you've done with the podcast is like such a unique way into it. And like literally not something I'd ever seen before. So when I like realized what you were doing, I was like, that is awesome.
Thank you.
Bravo to you.
Thank you. I'll take it. But
so that was super fun. Although I feel like I kind of shot myself in the foot because we did the live show, which was epic and so much fun. But I kind of forgot.
You forgot it was a dating
I was there to like mix with people. So I went and I was all like adrenaline-y, like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then I had like a little glass of wine after and I mixed with no one.
Yeah.
Literally no one. And then I remember you messaged me like, oh, so did you get any numbers? And I was like, oh, no, I kind of forgot that's why I was there.
That happened to me at a Thursday, my very first Thursday.
Uh-huh.
I went mad and I invited 16 girlfriends to this one Thursday. I invited
that's like the whole crowd, no?
I invited everyone I basically knew that was fun and single and was like, please come with me. It's my first one. I'm like, want to make it like a big thing.
Yeah.
So we all met at Simmons before. I got white girl wasted.
Incredible.
And then like we went to this bar and I forgot why we were there.
Yeah.
Like I was just having fun with my friends. I don't think I spoke to like one guy.
No.
Oh, or if I did, it was like in a friendly manner.
Yeah, that is the challenge. I feel like sometimes like if you go out with friends as your route into it, and this is another thing that I've done is like try and set up only single girl nights out. So like if you've got one or two girlfriends, like go out with the intention obviously of having a nice time, but with the intention of talking to guys, because otherwise like maybe you'll go out with some friends and like some of them maybe are in relationships and then it's just like not really on your radar and then it's not like a waste of a night because obviously you've had a fantastic evening, but if you're in the back of your mind like, oh, maybe I'll, you know, have a little flirt or like chat to someone or whatever, it can quite easily slip to the back of the agenda, I guess.
You just
so
forget,
having I think having a couple of single friends, and I feel like a group of like 2 or 3 is like a prime.
That is prime.
You can't be in a group of like 7 because then I feel like you're a little bit
intimidating,
inapproachable.
Yeah.
Whereas
I found 3 is the magic number.
Do you know what I was about to say?
I don't know
like
why
3.
it's 3. I feel like 2, sometimes it can be a bit intense because not a crowd. I think if you're going up to people as a 2, they're a bit like, oh, we have to pick one of you.
Yeah, and
whereas
also
a 3, there's just like more options.
100%. And also if you're a 2, then like if you start talking to someone and then your friend is just stood there
alone.
Like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done a couple of like girly singles nights out. Some ended okay. Chatted to a couple of people. None of them ended in like a cool, like here's my number kind of way. But I do think it's quite a good way of just like getting out of your head a little bit with it. Because I think like you're like, if you think of it as I'm having a lovely evening out with my friends, and if something comes of it, great. If something doesn't, then like literally no stress.
Yeah.
Then that's quite a nice way of doing it.
Do you have any location suggestions?
Oh, I feel like all of mine are going to be very Southwest.
That's
London
okay
based,
though. We've still got listeners there.
A Southwest girly. So my favourite pub in Southwest London is Hagen and Hyde in Balham.
I go there constantly.
Do you know, I have seen it on your Instagram story, so I did know that. But
there are good people in there.
There are good people. And I just
it's
feel
older.
Yes.
Everyone's basically like 27 plus, maybe 28
yeah,
plus.
Yeah.
Like,
we don't want any of this like Inferno's 18-year-old kind of vibe. Unless you are 18, in which case that's good for you.
Yeah.
But I think the vibe to Hagen is great because there's a live there's live music every weekend. So like you go, you have a little bit of a dance, but not in like an intense like grindy kind of way.
Yeah.
Just have a boogie, have a little wine. There's beer garden, like especially in the summer.
Beer garden's nice.
Yeah. I feel like it's a good, and it's small enough that it's intimate, but it's not so small that like I mean also it's packed every weekend.
It's packed. Yeah. There's always going to be people in there.
Yeah, 100%.
And the drinks are really cheap.
They're not bad.
They're like quite reasonable.
Yeah, they're all right.
I got 2 pints and it was £10 and I was like, you know, like 12 at night on a Friday. I feel like they could charge a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's not bad. I feel like I never remember how much the drinks in there are, which doesn't bode well for me.
Maybe that's why, because they're cheap, so you just have loads.
Yeah, that's great. So that's a good one. I feel like anything that sort of vibe, where it's like a vibey pub, where like going
There's
up to
something going
someone,
on,
it wouldn't be weird, but not so like clubby that it's then just like you're dancing on someone until you say, do you want to come home with me, or vice versa. It needs to be that sweet spot of like you can have a conversation, but also
it's still got an atmosphere.
Exactly.
My recommendation, if you just want to get with someone, but like the dancey, is Cafe Sol.
Oh, Cafe Sol is fun.
Yeah, there's a
It is
lot
good
of
vibe.
really fit tall men in there, but you've got to be careful about the age. One of my friends started getting with one of the guys there, and he was like 22, and we were like, oh dear.
Well, it's close to Inferno, so
yeah. The other one is Simmons in Clapham. I had some quite good luck there.
Okay.
I know, one random evening. Haven't been back, so can't really like validate it the same as Cafe Sol, because I've done that like multiple times.
Repeat.
I was
success.
surprised at the Simmons.
That is a random one, because in my head when I was thinking of where I wouldn't suggest, Simmons did come onto my list because it's always so loud, and I feel like you just can't have. I mean, I suppose
this
it depends.
is not dating hunting. This is
just making out with people,
hunting.
Yeah.
If
So,
that's on your radar.
Again, I think it depends what you're going out there for. A little confidence boost, just a little, snog, fine.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But if you're wanting
Sometimes
to like exchange, sometimes that is all you need. But if you're wanting to like have a chat, maybe exchange numbers, potentially have a date afterwards, I feel like you should probably have a conversation.
A pub is better.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I have done since, which was a kind of similar in uniqueness to the podcast, was a Time Left event.
Oh yeah, I've seen that they have launched now here.
Yeah, launched in the UK. I want to say it was maybe January, February. It was quite early on into the year. So effectively, the concept is that it's an app, and you sign up to one of their dinners. So they host dinners in like loads of cities. Started in Europe to come over here. So in London, I think they're in Birmingham, Manchester, like the big cities. And effectively you sign up to the app, you put in kind of like a little bit of information about yourself, and then you kind of pay for a ticket to a dinner, and then the app uses an algorithm to put you on a table with 5 other strangers that in theory should kind of match your personality a little bit. So they look at like age, they try and get a good gender split, they try and get a good kind of like, just various diversity
like,
bits and pieces, like professions and hobbies, etc. But like if you've said that you, I don't know, like talking about politics, then it'll try and pair you with other people that like talking about politics, for example. And then you don't get any information about them other than like what language they speak, how old they are, etc. But you get some. You get like a little, like, oh, your table is 25% Italian and like 50% British or whatever.
Right.
And then you just go and you just like rock up to this table and you're like, hello.
That's brave.
I mean, it was terrifying, but it was actually super cool because, and again, I didn't actually get any tangible dating expertise from it, but like I just met like 5 people that I just never would have met otherwise. And had like really great conversations. What's also quite fun about it is that the app then gives you like these little prompt cards. So like obviously you could imagine like the conversation could be like really awkward, but it's like, those like 21 questions to fall in love or whatever. And it's like, it asks you things like that. Like what's the biggest challenge you faced in your life, or like what's your biggest goal for this year or whatever, and you can then sort of like go around and ask the questions. And people were crying at the table, people were talking about like death and really personal things. And I think again, like it was such a weird situation because you would maybe not have a lot of those conversations with people that you know
well,
but because you don't know
like a therapy
them,
session.
Exactly.
So they know nothing about who you're talking about.
100%. So that was super cool. As I say, didn't actually meet anyone from it.
I have to admit, I've seen them and I'm not sure, like, I never really know if it's for dating always.
I think they don't market themselves as a dating
It's more like
app. It's like making connections. So I think if you're like new to a city, maybe you don't have like a group of girlfriends to go, bar hopping with.
It would be a good one.
Yeah, because like you could
probably meet nice girls.
Yeah,
that's what I find about the singles events I go to. I never meet men, but I meet loads of lovely girls to go out with.
But then I just always think in that situation, like you might meet a girl whose like brother is recently single, or like whose housemate or
friends.
And then it's just like expanding your groups,
100%.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But none of them actually led to a tangible dating scenario, but they were very fun, and I think I'm very glad I did all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't regret anything.
No,
That's
definitely
good.
not.
Have you done traditional speed dating?
Do you know what? I haven't. That was the one thing I had on my list
did this
that I've not
recently.
ticked off. And good, bad.
I don't even know where to start with this. So I went with 3 other girlfriends. So there's only 4 of us. So we weren't too big. So there's 30 people in the room. But then we kind of did make up like a quarter nearly. No, a third nearly, sorry, at 15 or 4, like nearly a third.
You need to stop
of the girls.
making up the whole crowd at these events. Maybe that's your issue.
So, but
you know everyone there
I wasn't
already.
dating the girls, but like,
Yeah.
I can't even explain how. Number one, it was so draining, and I'm so extroverted.
Yeah.
And I like got so tired, and it was like the app's on steroids in the fact of everyone obviously started the same thing with like, who are you, what do you do?
Yeah, what's your name, where'd you come from?
Literally, I talked about the podcast all evening.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but I got so bored of like talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
And just asking the same things.
How long did you have with each person?
It was a few minutes, but sometimes with some people that felt like a very long time.
Yeah, but I imagine if you're having like the same conversation, you're like, oh, so I do this podcast and then I do this and I have a cat and I live here and then that's like, you don't
everyone
have
asks where you
time to
live,
get into
anything interesting.
Yeah.
Some of them were a bit more like, I guess, seasoned. Like a lot asked like, have you been before? That was another like really classic question. I was a no, but like a lot of them have been like a lot.
Yeah.
So then you could be like, clearly it hasn't worked
Success
for you,
stories.
but like, yeah, have you ever met?
Hold on.
I don't know. There was only one guy that I was like, okay, maybe I did take his number and then I never messaged because I kind of got the whole like, actually, was it just that everyone else was so tragic? And you just were normal.
Like the best of a bad bunch.
But actually, like, if I met you normally, would I be interested? Like, I don't think so.
No. But then I do think, just going back to the dating app thing, I do think that there is something in like the people that you'd meet on a night out or at a dating event or whatever, like meeting someone in real life, you might not have swiped on them.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's always a bad thing. Like when I look at like friends that I have that have met people organically, they're always like, I would never have swiped for him if I'd seen him on a night.
That happens so much.
Mainly
I think
because guys
so
can't
judgy.
take pictures.
They also can't. Yeah, they can't. They can't.
But I think sometimes like, challenging yourself.
I try and be really lenient on the apps. Like if they have a few bad photos, but they have a couple that I like, instead of Xing, I now swipe and I see if they chat. Because to be honest, like that's way more important than what they look like initially.
God, yeah.
I think especially for women, it grows. So like, yeah, I'm really trying with that aspect. But then I sometimes end up, it does sometimes catch you out because you end up matching with someone chatting and then you look back at their profile and you're like, wait, why? And then you kind of like, yeah, you're like, I don't know why I swiped.
Yeah.
Like I checked someone's recently and then I saw it said short term on his thing. And I was like, oh fuck, I must have like just not seen that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, now do I just stop replying? Like, I don't know. It gets you in trouble. Being too lenient.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you do need somewhat of a filter. We're not just going through and like aggressively swiping everyone. But yeah, I do think there's something in like
just giving a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also, especially if you're like basing off pictures, like you literally have 6 pictures to sum up someone's entire life and personality. Like it's a very small window in a way that you get a lot more of a window if you meet in different circumstances.
Yeah, but the speed dating, I'm sad to say I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh,
we
that's
had
a
like
shame.
we had so much fun because we just laughed about it the whole time of like how tragic it was. Mm-hmm. But honestly, there was a mixer after. And like we obviously sat down and it just felt like vultures. Like
oh god.
And they were all just around and we literally just had to leave. We had one drink and we left because it just felt, I don't know. I felt like they were very interested and we were just not. And it was just so intense. Like, too much.
I know what you mean. I feel like those sort of mixery things can be a little bit forced in a way that like, if you know people are there for that, like they then don't seem to often be like the social cues that you would get in a bar. Like, after the Time Left event, there was a mixer and I was just like chatting with the people I'd been on a table with and, you know, it wasn't really a romantic vibe. We were just, you know, chatting about whatever. And there were a couple of guys that came over and were very like, okay, hi. So like, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're just like, oh yeah, this is my name. This is what I do. And he was like, do you want a drink? I was like, oh, I'm fine. Thank you. Like I have one. And I feel like if you were in a bar at that point, someone would be like, okay, I'm reading the signs that you're not interested in continuing
I'll
the conversation.
go back to my friends.
But then like this guy came over and was just like continually like trying to start, you know, and you're just like, oh, I feel like maybe you could read the room here and see that this is not quite the vibe. But I feel like because you're there for that goal, people maybe don't have the same social awareness as you would in another situation. Maybe
that's what I've heard about the dinner events as well.
Right.
So when it's like a bigger dinner where there's like 30 or 40 people at the singles dinner, I spoke to a girl recently that went to one, and I was like, oh, how was it? Because I've never been, and I've always been quite curious.
Yeah.
And she was like, the actual dinner was fine because they make you rotate round like a speed dating.
Yeah.
But she was like, it felt less forced than because you had like stuff to eat and do, and that you move around per courses or something like that. So I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. But then she said the mixer part was where it really didn't work for her, because she said everyone went to talk to who they wanted to chat to. And then if your person or the person that you think you got on best with, most likely other people are probably going to also like that person, because maybe they were just like really, good at chatting, genuine, whatever. She was like, the guy I wanted to speak to, it just wasn't free like the whole evening.
Right.
And then she was like, I got like one tiny conversation in with him at the end, but we never got to like chat, exchange, because he was just like almost booked out.
Oh, God.
And I was like, that sounds again like the vulture aspect of what we felt. I feel like certain people then just get like over targeted.
Yeah.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end,
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
And also, it's just like you don't want to feel like you're fighting with like
the
5
Bachelor.
other people. Like, hi, come and talk to me now, please. Yeah, it is. I mean, I suppose by nature, like you're there for a reason, and so people are also there for a reason. But then I suppose it's obviously not going to feel as natural as if you were just like in a bar and end up chatting to someone.
No, but I do think they're so good to have like the combination, because I won't lie, I've met people at Thursday events.
Yeah.
I've met people from the podcast, actually. Went on a few podcast dates.
Okay.
I know. That was quite funny. So like they do work.
Yeah.
I also met some guy at a cricket match. That was really fun.
I was about to say, I feel like, I mean, I'm not a runner, so this would absolutely never be
I know,
me.
I'm going to try the running thing. I've heard so much about it.
I feel like running clubs are the way
They're
the
the thing.
cool kids.
Everyone's going on about them.
People are meeting on Strava these days. Maybe this is a whole new world of hobby-based relationships. I mean, my hobbies are like painting my nails and embroidering, so I'm not sure that really attracts the kind of guys that I would be interested in dating. But I feel like if you like sport, if you like that sort of thing, like my housemate is big into like cricket and running, and I'm like, girl, I feel like this is a rich territory to meet people.
The other one that worked for me is going to one of my friends' work drinks. That was a good one. Met someone there that I got, his number.
Nice.
I think that's the thing. It's just anything that got me someone's number to then be like, okay, actually, should we go on a date?
Yeah.
That I deemed that as successful, because that is the apps.
Yeah,
like, that's all they do
100%.
is you just, eventually, if you chat to someone long enough, they get your number. And then it's kind of on you to do the planning. Like, the apps don't do the planning.
100%. I feel like if you've gone on a first date with someone, regardless of how you get into that avenue, or even, just move over to WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever, then
that's a success.
that's on you now.
I think so.
And like on your compatibility or not.
Do you know what was sweet actually about the speed dating, even though I actually did meet 2 guys I met there. Now they followed the podcast and they liked the idea. Like there wasn't a romantic connection there, but now they messaged me about like their dating lives, and it's quite sweet.
Stop. That's
lovely.
lovely.
I know. One of them told me recently, like, actually no, I can't say that because he listens. Like, scrap that. But that was really nice.
Yeah, that's really sweet. And I think that's the
and
thing
they weren't
with
being
it.
the vulture ones, like they were just they were chatting to other people. They were just being normal.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think this is the thing with it. It's just like keeping an open mind, and like I think the thing with any of these things, whether it's the apps or speed dating or events or whatever, it's just like not putting all of your absolute pressure onto each individual thing. Like maybe you'll get a date.
It's like a holistic approach.
Yeah, maybe you'll like make a really nice friend from it. Maybe like you'll meet a group of girls that then you want to like go out with. It's just like playing the field with all of the approaches and just seeing what happens with all of
what
them.
sticks almost.
And I think that's why, for me, like I've continued to use apps alongside some of these things. And I think actually it helps as a whole package, because if you're just using the apps and thinking I'm only ever going to meet someone on the apps, then that's really draining for all the reasons that we've talked about before. Like, the apps can be a bit of a vicious cycle. But actually, if you're doing it whilst also going out with friends or going to events or going to dinners or having these silly like speed dating experiences that just
I would
bring a bit of
recommend you go
lightness.
just for lols, to be honest, because like honestly, like go with someone just so you can laugh about it. I feel like if I went by myself, I would have crashed and burned after it. At least we could have laughed about it.
Yes.
And it was fun
fair.
to be like, what did you think of that person? Like, what did you guys speak about? Because I really struggled. And
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I feel like I would also, just for your own like self-confidence, you'd want to go with
actually it was good for confidence boosting, to be honest, because people were happy to chat to you, they were interested in you. So that's quite nice.
That is nice. And again, I feel like that's another perk of the apps. If you are getting the matches through, then it's good for the confidence boosting.
Just like learning how to
because like fundamentally, like, dating is so fraught with rejection. Like, you are putting your self-worth into other people's hands and being like, please want to talk to me, please find me attractive, please find me interesting. So it can be like really grueling on the self-esteem.
Honestly, you don't want to get into it, but in like 5 months I've been ghosted, I've been love bombed, I've been like, and I think I know what I'm doing. And like I feel like I'm really well read in these areas of dating. No, I still fall for the people that do all these things, still get catfished, still get, do you know what I mean? Like it's incredible.
It is.
Still get sent unsolicited dick pics. I can't believe that happens. I've had 2 of those. 2.
Yeah.
They've got my number. I've been chatting away. And then the next thing, they only want the number to send that. And it's like...
mad.
I was obviously just blocked straight away, but what?
Yeah, no, I know.
We're in 2024 when it's literally illegal.
Yeah. It is. I think it's like an absolute Wild West. And like there are no rules, there are no hacks, there are no ways to like cheat the system.
No.
Like, you just have to put yourself out there and try and not get completely bogged down in the process.
And no, it's like not actually in your control if these things happen. Like, don't blame yourself if you get ghosted. Don't blame yourself if you get love bombed. If you like fall for these things, because it literally happens to everyone and anyone.
100%.
It doesn't discriminate.
No, and it's not, and it's never on you. Like, if you're ghosted or if someone rejects you or whatever the thing is, like, unless you've been a complete crazy person on the day, or like 99% of the time it is because they are overwhelmed, or they've got something going on, or they're not ready, or they've like
they're
in love
just
with their
bored of
ex
the
and
apps.
they've made it to themselves,
or
it's
drained of the apps and you're just another person on there that they can't be bothered with. Like,
exactly.
We all feel like that about these or they go back through your profile. Like, no offense, I do that, and then I'm like, I don't really know why I matched with this person. Like, I don't feel like we have a lot in common.
Yeah, for sure.
Or sometimes you go back on, you're like, they don't even have enough information.
Yeah.
Like, why did I match this person?
Because I put it on the TV and my housemate convinced me to say yes. Because there was one picture of them at the F1, but actually I didn't find the jokes funny.
The rest was like red flags all over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just think you're right. You can't take it personally, and the rejection's inevitable. And in person as well. I feel like we haven't spoken about that. I've been at Thursday events. That's can be brutal. You got someone thinking like, oh, I'd like try and chat to them, do the classic like, can you hold my drink, I don't know, move, anything like that to like get them to speak to you. And then they literally say like, hey, and maybe a couple sentences, and then they're like, oh, I'm gonna go find my friend, classic, or I'm gonna go to the toilet, classic. And you just have to be like, cool, and walk away. Like, you can't be sad about it, can't leave the event, don't do that. No, doesn't matter. Just go chat to someone else.
100%. Like, you just,
but it's hard.
It's so hard because it is like fundamentally rejection, and like, especially
to your face
and especially in those kinds of situations where it's like, you don't know me, so literally all you're basing this off of is like what you see in front of you,
exterior.
and then it's so hard to then not be like, I'm a hideous beast. That is the only possible explanation. I am a foul monster that is completely unattractive. Like,
exactly.
Obviously, that's not the case, but it's so hard to tell the little voice to shush in those situations.
And I love the saying, like, you could be the best peach in the world, but not everyone likes peaches.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, you could be the juiciest, ripest peach. Some people are allergic to peaches.
Yeah,
some people just hate peaches.
It's like, so true.
Not everyone's gonna like you, and you just got to deal with it. But not everyone likes peaches.
Yeah, it's true. I like that. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Take that.
I've heard it on a couple of podcasts. Yeah, and I'm like, I always think like, I'm a really juicy peach.
Such a nice peach, but maybe they just are allergic to fruit.
They just don't like peaches.
Yeah.
really funny. Okay, so has doing more outside of dating apps changed your opinion on them and how you use them in the future?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it goes back to what we've just been saying. Like, I think it's really allowed me to not put all my eggs in that one basket. Because I think in the past, I've been quite guilty of like getting into a bit of a rut with it and feeling like it's the only option. And you just have to keep going until like statistically you find someone that's a match. Because surely if you go on 5,000 dates, like 1% of those will go well, you know, you kind of get into that. And then you almost like jobify it. And like we were saying earlier, like the admin of it, like it just gets very, very like boggy in terms of...
It is like job applications.
Yeah.
I do feel that.
100%. And like keeping up with the messages, it's like replying to your emails. Anyway, so I think it can really suck the fun out of like dating as a concept. And I think the great thing about doing lots of other things is, again, not putting all your eggs into speed dating or into, you know, going to Thursday events or whatever, but it just means that you don't feel quite as like tied to one thing. And it brings a bit of fun back into it. I think being able to experience things with your friends, if you can go to events with people that you know and make it a fun like group experience. Again, like you're with your friends, you're gonna have a nice time because you have a nice time with your friends. So,
and if it's a disaster like the speed dating was, you just laugh about it. It's a good story.
It's a funny story. Like
we went to the pub after
night.
And had like the biggest giggles. Like,
exactly.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And one of the girls was like, I knew it'd be awful. And I literally just came to prove myself that it was awful.
Yeah.
It's like, fine. You know, like you've ticked it off. You've done it. You've said you've done it.
Yeah.
Like now when people have said, have you tried this? Especially those annoying people that are in relationships being like, have you tried this?
There's an app called Hinge, I think.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Like, it's like, you can be like, yeah, I tried it and it was fucking awful and here's why.
Yeah. But I do just think if also it makes you feel like you're not alone. And I think that can be another huge thing when you're dating. And that was actually why me and Beth set up our TikTok page, because we both independently felt like it was quite an isolating, a lonely process. Yeah. And actually, if you've just got someone to like have a bit of a giggle with and like make it a bit silly and like bring some fun back into it, and make it like, oh my God, you were ghosted, I was ghosted last week. Do you know what I mean? It's like
it is so
the solace of like,
it is.
Knowing you're not the only one.
My like biggest advice to anyone who's single is get single friends. I don't care if you don't have any, find some, you need them. Yeah. The people in the relationships, they can give good advice and they care about you, but sometimes they do just say the wrong stuff. Yeah. And it's really hard to relate when, you know, you get ghosted. All they say is, don't worry, on to the next. Whereas the single people will say to you, that sucks, I'm really sorry. Yeah. And like maybe have a story like you just said of, yeah, that happened to me, and like, this is how I felt and this is how I dealt with it. Yeah. Here's a podcast you can listen to. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like it's just a different tone. Yeah. Because it's the I actually understand tone. Yeah. Not like a don't worry, just pick yourself up and go for the next person. 100%. Like that's really unhelpful when you're like feeling really rejected.
Yeah, 100%.
But they don't mean bad.
No,
they're trying to like lift you up.
It's always coming from such a good place, but it's just not when you don't have that experience to relate to. It's like with anything, isn't it? Like if you don't have the experience to be empathetic, which is the one where you understand, empathetic,
empathize.
Yeah, when I'd be like, oh, I feel like I've gone on so many dates, and like then I've had, you know, long-term relationship friends say to me in the past, were like, oh well, I did go on like 3 bad dates before I met Mike or whatever, and you're like, yeah, that's the same thing, but like it's coming from a good place, but it's just
they want to help.
Complete like unrelatability. Going all the way back to the original question, like
having
multiple avenues and having some of those avenues be not just you, but actually you're going through it with friends, you're going through it with like other people. It just takes the pressure off it and it makes it less draining. It brings some fun back in. And then like, who knows, maybe you will meet someone on Hinge, maybe you will meet someone on Bumble, but like it's not the be all and end all, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Put less pressure on the apps, because I do think some people think like if I'm not going to find someone on the apps, I'm not going to find anyone.
Yeah, 100%.
Which just isn't. From my 5 months of experience, not true. Not true.
From my many years of experience. But yeah, I agree. Like the apps aren't the be all and end all. And like, yeah, maybe you will. And maybe this is just a bit of a time filler. And like, you know, you go on these funny things for your stories. But also maybe you won't. Like maybe you'll meet someone at work. Maybe you'll meet someone at the pub. Maybe you'll meet someone on the tube. Like you just never know. Yeah. And I think being open to other situations.
I agree. Yeah. Because I do think that's the only thing. If you're only on the apps, you almost start to think that that's the only space where you can date. And like are tuned out to the outside world. Whereas if you're going on these, like I've got one next Friday where me and 2 other single girls, we've decided it's a man night.
Yeah. A man
you
crawl.
you had a good name for it. Was it
A man crawl.
Man crawl. Yeah.
I've done this in the past with girlfriends where it's like, you are not going out to have a silly goofy night and, you know,
with the girls,
dance like a lunatic and look like a tit. You're going out to
chat to people
and get numbers.
Well, not people, men for me.
Well, whatever
potential romantic people,
whatever your preferences are. So we were like, it's not a bar crawl, it's a man crawl.
Yeah,
you just got to go and get numbers. So
I'll just try. Just give it a go.
Because I do also think like you give off in the real world a very different energy when you are there. Say if you're there with like 5 girlfriends who are all married or in long-term relationships, like you are not giving the energy and the openness in your body language to say I am open to like talking to people, because of course you're not. You're there with like, you're not going to pull if you're like there with your 5 like wifed up girls,
and they don't want to chat to anyone else.
They're
there
to
chat to you.
That's not what you're there for. Whereas if you don't exercise that like openness and like the body language and like the just being like open to talking to people very often, and then you go out into a pub, like no one's going to talk to you because you're not putting that energy out there. And then you'll be like, oh, well, why is nobody talking to me? Like, is it because I'm unattractive? Is it because whatever? So like I think that's something that you have to exercise and practice. That doesn't come naturally, especially if you're not, you know, like an extroverted person. So I think that's important as well.
Do you have any top tips for people who are ready to try new styles of dating? I feel like we've weaved them in.
We have weaved them in.
Is there any things that stand out? Have single friends.
That's single friends.
Good one.
That is a good tip. I would say just like be kind to yourself, because as we've said throughout, like it's a tumultuous road dating.
It's so rough.
And
like,
it comes with
I'm
so
not
many
going to sugarcoat
lows.
it. Like my motto on the podcast is like trying to make it fun, but that's because it's genuinely not very fun most of the time.
No, 100%. It is super rough, and
especially if you're an anxious attachment.
Yeah, but I think the dating apps have made things very easy, which is great in some ways. But like a lot of these things that we're talking about, you know, like going up to people in bars, like going to events where you might not know anyone, speed dating, like they're all very anxiety-inducing situations.
Are so scary.
Like whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, like no one, at least I have not met anyone that like doesn't feel wildly nervous before that sort of thing. So like if the thought of that terrifies you, but you are giving it a go, absolute kudos, hats off to you. Like that is amazing. Yeah. So I think just, like pushing yourself, like try things outside your comfort zone, but also like be kind to yourself and acknowledge that what you're doing is fucking scary. Yeah. I
like that. It's true. I've been so nervous for so many of these things. And also actually just dates. Yeah. I feel like that's not spoken about enough. Like I'm so extroverted. I can talk to anyone. I shit myself before all these dates, especially a first one when I don't know who the hell I'm meeting. Like it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, I don't know why, but I'm just so nervous about what's going to happen because you just don't know. It could be like the best night of your life or the worst. Yeah. And there's no telling until you get there. No. And I hate the bit like, when you're walking there, my heart just goes like mad.
Yeah, same. 100%.
I'm so nervous. I get like sweaty. I just like palpitations.
You are in fight or flight mode.
It's so horrible. And then you see them and I'm very stiff. I like know I'm stiff. I've like guys have told me that have gone on multiple dates with me. They were like, the first like 10 minutes you were really quite offy.
Really?
And they were like, it surprised me because of like your personality. And I was just like, I was probably just like in shock. Like you said, like fight or flight. I'm probably just really nervous and 100%. Panicked. And that's someone who's incredibly extroverted. So it's just the whole thing is so scary.
But I think on that as well, like it really is, everyone feels that. And so everyone is probably not putting their best foot forward in those moments. Like you say, like either like you word vomit or you don't talk at all because you're just
I go quiet,
so scared. So I think also there's something in like just like kind of give everyone a chance. Maybe like I can sometimes be prone to making like snap judgments from people off of like the first 3 minutes. But actually, like, that's not the case. Like, that person is also feeling just as terrified.
To be honest, the whole first date, they're not going to be themselves.
No.
They're going to be showing, like, some performative act.
Yeah, 100%. And, like, you might not get to that for, like, you know, 2, 3, like, maybe 4 dates. Yeah. Like, if there's something there, and this is where I then have issue with, like, the spark or, like, the connection. Because, like,
The amount of people that message me, I have no spark.
But a lot of time, that's
what are you
actually
looking
just
for?
anxiety.
Yeah,
like,
what are you looking for?
yeah. So yeah, I guess another tip, just like in every context, just like give it a go. Like,
Yeah.
if that's an event, if that's a person, like, you know, unless they seem like an absolute arsehole, give it a go.
Do it for the plot. That's what I like to say.
That is a good motto.
Because I went out with a guy, he didn't have his job on the apps, and then I found out what it was. I'm not going to say what it was. And it just isn't something that I would align myself with.
Right.
But it was like an hour before the date that I found this out, because he said he got caught at this particular job.
Right.
And that's why he was going to be a bit late. And I was like, I've just got to go.
Yeah.
And it really surprised me. Like, we had a lot more in common than I thought we would.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't just cancel because I found out that one piece of information.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it didn't lead to anything, but, you know.
But even so.
It was still good to go.
Yeah.
And we chatted about very different things that I wouldn't normally chat about on a first date. And yeah, it was just an interesting, good experience.
And I think on that, again, like going back to what we were saying earlier of like, when you meet people in the wild or at an event that's not on an app where you've got, you know, key facts and some prompts and stuff about them, like you don't. And so you probably naturally will, like, maybe you will interact with someone who might have a job that you wouldn't have swiped for on the app, but then like you actually meet them and they're really cool and interesting. And I think, having an open mind with it is definitely better.
Because I don't think they matter. I think it's so easy to be really judgy on the apps.
Well, when you've got literally like...
Especially the height.
The height is a big thing for a lot of people. But I think when you've got literally like an infinite amount of people at the tap of your finger, like, of course you're going to be picky, because it's like, where does it end?
It's good. I feel like this year particularly, I keep seeing like TikToks that say that this summer is going to be like such a good one for single people, because there's been a real movement of everyone's really sick of the apps at the moment. Like, I feel like this year has been stronger than ever. And there's more like events than ever, things to do for single people. I just have a good feeling about genuine human connection outside of the apps for this year.
I know what you mean. I feel like I've seen quite a lot. In fact, there's a page that I follow, I think it's called Board of Dating Apps, and they organise events in London. Like, they did like a barn dance or something.
Cute,
like, and they try and do things where it's not like a, I don't know, singles mixer or like some
it's
of
like
those.
an activity.
It's like a thing.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean. I feel like, or like singles running clubs.
Right,
or like,
I was going to say, I've
there
seen
just
singles
seem
running clubs.
to be a lot more options.
There are, I think,
which,
if you want to be intentional with it.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity more this year than ever.
100%.
Which is really good.
It's so exciting. And it's like, if you like barn dancing,
then
go. Meet someone else that likes barn dancing.
You like running, go.
Yeah.
I've honestly, 2 of my friends have met their now boyfriends through running this year. I know.
That's mad.
That's why I'm like, I need to maybe start. Running.
What are they? Are they just like running in the park and they're like, hi?
So
like,
actually, there's 3 of them. No, 2 met at races. So then they were in the same wave and they got chatting at the beginning of the race. The other one, which is my favourite one, she met him, he worked at a running shop and fit her trainers. And now they're together, like official.
Like a real life Cinderella.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
She posts about him all the time and I'm like, wow.
That is mad.
Yeah. He did her gait analysis. But if she never signed up to these, like, the running clubs and the running races, and she just did the marathon, she would have never met him.
No.
And then now they run together. Because obviously he's very passionate about running from working. Like, that's why he works in the shop. So
mad.
Crazy.
You just never know. You never know, like, where someone could fly into your life from.
Exactly.
So
it's good.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
I want to be positive. I feel like I've been a bit doom and gloom about the whole thing today, but it's not.
No, it is. It's hard to not be, because it is, for all the reasons we've said. Like,
I don't like to pretend that everything's rosy. I think that's the thing with dating. Like, it's very easy just to be like, do this.
Yeah.
But actually, like we've said, a lot of the events we've gone to didn't lead to anything. No. We got rejected. It's just part of the process, but it's okay.
Yeah, and there is no formula. Like, there's no thing you can do to make it happen. Like, you just have to quote Ronan Keating, life is a roller coaster, you've just got to ride it. Like, you can't engineer it. It will happen at some point, and all you can do is try and at least somewhat enjoy it and not have a horrible time the entire time while you're doing it.
Yeah, and just try not to date people that induce your anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
A million times over. Because even I've been guilty of that. I was like, why am I picking these people that make me feel shit about myself?
Yeah.
It's really hard not to do, somehow.
It is hard not to do. And it's also a lot easier to see it in retrospect.
100%. And then it's over and you're like, oh wait, that's why I was feeling shit.
Yeah.
Because they weren't
like,
texting me back for 3 days.
Obviously, they didn't actually make any time to see me in the entire 3 months we were dating. So why did I think that was a good idea?
I was just waiting for them to like potentially ghost me. I never knew if they were going to ghost me or not. And then they did.
Yeah.
2
Plot
weeks go by and you're like, probably a ghost now.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
No, it is.
It's wild. It's a Wild West.
It is. It's the Wild West.
Yeah, but we're in it together.
Yes. This is the thing. There are so many people that have literally had the same experience as you. Like, if you've been stood up, like, someone else will also have, like, you are not alone. It's
just
not
go on
you.
TikTok, put it in search, and it'll make you feel 100 times better. That's what I did about the ghosting. It made me feel a million times better.
Yeah.
There were way worse stories than mine. And it's
Oh
not
my
that it's a
God.
comparison or like a competition.
No,
but it just really makes you feel better.
Yeah, it reassures. I mean, I can guarantee that most of the things have probably happened to me, and I've talked about them on TikTok. So
Yeah,
exactly. If you need some reassurance, come on to our page, and I can promise you I will have had a terrible experience.
Yeah, speaking of this page, let everyone know where they can find you and everything.
The TikTok is probably going to be very traumatizing for many people listening to this. It's called 2 Girls 1 Pup. With a P, not a C.
Yeah.
Very, very different things. 2_girls_1_
But the
pup.
pun is still there.
The pun is still there. It's me and my housemate Beth and our dog Frankie. So that's where the pup comes in. She doesn't actually really feature that often. She's a token.
She does occasionally.
Yeah, she does every now and then. Although sometimes people are like, "We're just here for the dog." I'm like, "That's totally fine." We are on TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, share a lot of the sort of things that we have just been discussing, like the traumas of dating. We try and make it fun. As I say, that was sort of why we started the page, was just to like try and sprinkle a little bit of like silliness and fun and relatability and like, is there anyone else there that has been ghosted after dating someone for 4 months? Yes. Oh, okay, wonderful. It's not tragic. Only me.
People do that now. Wild.
Yeah, but it's actually really lovely because like sometimes we'll post something and then like you'll see so many people in the comments like, oh my God, this happened to me, or oh my God, I had this similar situation, but actually this happened and this podcast really helped me, and like you can see that community kind of like building. And I think when it is something that is so like high emotion and fraught with like anxiety and trauma, like people want to feel connected with that.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's
why the single friends are so important.
100%.
Like sometimes sat on social media can also not feel great. So if you can just pick up the phone to someone and be like, "This happened and I'm sad,"
100%,
and they get it a bit more. They're I know, it's fine.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think
I use it so much. I post my dating qualms or woes on my close friends on Instagram, and it's literally the best thing. I would recommend it to anyone. It's so selective, that group. Do not post it to like, your whole then that will probably give you more anxiety.
Or you could, if that's what you want to do, but
I don't think I'd recommend being as detailed as I am. But yeah, like it helps so much because it's just my very close friends replying like, don't worry, it's okay.
Yeah.
Especially before a date, I do like a get ready like moment where I talk about like how I'm feeling, and it's kind of like journaling.
Yeah, it's nice because that's the bit where you're most anxious about the date, is when you're like the getting ready, and it's like that exactly as you said, the 10 minutes between getting off the bus and getting to the pub where you're just like, I'm gonna pass away now. Out of sheer
I just
panic.
voice note the whole time.
Yeah, you got to do it, or get on the phone to another single friend.
Exactly. Just ring someone and be like, okay, I'm walking in now, bye. Like literally just leave them like the very last moment.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great discussion, I think.
It has. I've really enjoyed it. And again, like, it's just cathartic to talk to people who get it.
Yeah, even this is comforting.
100%. 100%. So yeah, thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
It's been a blast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening. I really hoped you learned something. I'll be back next week with the usual format of introducing you to a single of London. Hope you have a great week, guys, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.